I love me some pancakes. That's how I'm making all my decisions today. I like underwear because I wear it every day. I like pancakes because it's a great breakfast meal. That's what we're going with.
All right. I guess that leaves Sprayquaza. We've got Vengeance Blood and Nep Shadow for Pancake Reaper. And for Sprayquaza, we've got Hector Shadow, and then we've got Control Blood without Spawn of the Abyss. So, let's see how this plays out, guys. Talk to me about the mulligan. It's looking pretty sweet for Sprayquaza so far. What's happening?
Well, Sprayquaza's list is beginning to look a little bit more like a traditional Control Blood. Not so much based in the idea of, you know, playing the Blood Moons and all that. He's running Kai'Sa in his list, so he's looking to get like a lot of value out of that. So I'm thinking that this is more of a traditional.
He's playing like really old school Control Blood, and what I mean by that is he's actually running the Saha Quill package in here. So he's running big greedy blood with the Israfil, the Lucifers, the Bahamets. Like, he's got that sweet top end that he doesn't want to give up at the end of the game. So a lot more ways than we see Control Blood to actually have to finish the game. We're not going to be seeing the Temptress Vampires like we saw in games past. We're going to be seeing just big hitters like you would see in Dragon. It just takes them a little bit longer to get there.
Well, what's actually, what I think is really interesting is that he's not really running a card draw engine outside of Phantom Cat, and I love this because, like, I've actually been playing Phantom Cat and Control Blood, and I've been loving it. So, especially with his top end, because he's running so many neutrals, so he definitely has chances to hit it. Yeah, and the last time we actually saw this style of deck was what, back when Rise of Bahamut? You know,
this was Rise of Bahamut Control Blood. Obviously, minus the Phantom Cat. There is one extra piece of card draw in this deck in Baphomet. Baphomet is actually... Sprayquaza has set up his deck to actually get a really good use out of Baphomet. So, it still gets a random follower from Blood instead of a targeted one, but the only Blood followers actually in his deck are the big ones from the new set. The Big Knuckle Bodyguard, the Scarlet Sabrewer, and the Emeralda. Every other follower in this deck is neutral, so... very targeted with the Baphomet in a way that you can, and very interesting build. I like this deck.
I do too. I'm already a fan of Control Blood, but I'm even more of a fan of the fact that he's kind of taking a throwback to an old school variation.
Tell me what happened, okay? Tell me what happened. Nobody was playing Control Blood, and now everybody's playing Control Blood. What did you do? Did you do something? Did you put the Kool-Aid to these people? Were you having secret meetings behind my back and just telling everybody to play this deck? Like, what's happening?
Okay, first and foremost, I've been playing a lot of Control Blood on my streams, and people have been seeing me win a lot with this deck. Okay, so... I mean, people just kind of got inspired, I guess. I doubt I had anything to do with it, but I'm just going to roll with it. So... they got inspired by my genius and decided to play Control Blood.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Sure. I is genius being displayed here in the NA Open on the round robin here. Play Control Blood or die. That's the new phrase.
Yeah, apparently it is because so many people are playing Control Blood.
So many today. So let's get back to the game here. So Sprayquaza has just the normal cards you would expect from the control side. He's got removal, he's got wards, he's got some life gain. Actually, no wards. Forget the ward side. But he's got some life gain, he's got the carrot value, and he's got the Bahamut for the end game. So he's basically just hoping he can wait out this early aggression from Pancake, which he's been doing an okay job with. And Pancake over here. Talk to me about Pancake's hand.
Well, Pancake's hand is not what you really want to be seeing when you're Vengeance Blood. The problem is that he doesn't have any way to put himself in Vengeance, so he can't get the value out of his Emeralda next turn. He can't get the value out of his Dark Air Jammer. Can't get the Storm on Dark General. So he is in, and he is kind of in a tight spot in terms of, you know, just not being able to have Vengeance. And when if he plays like his Scarlet Sabrewer or his Diabolidrains, he's putting himself actually further away from being in Vengeance. And I'm not sure that he wants to be doing that.
Yep. So we're going to see him basically just play as much of a value game as he can. Like, this is not a great turn for Sabrewer because it doesn't kill both of the followers in play. So basically just saying, Dark Air Jammer is going to pull out some weak cards that I don't want to be drawing right now, and it will still give me some advantage by getting an extra follower in play. So I like this line. The double Air Jammer, even not in Vengeance, basically just to filter out some of the doo-doo that he could be drawing.
Yeah. That's actually one of the best things about Air Jammer, is how much it thins your deck. You know? I mean, it's pulling 2 things out of it, and those are 2 things you're never going to draw. So that kind of leaves you open to drawing your more high-impact cards like Emeralda and Dark General and whatever else you have in your deck that may be high-impact. So I actually really like...
In a game where your deck is only 40 cards, deck thinning actually matters a whole lot more. Because A, you're not drawing anything other than actual cards, because there aren't any other things besides just gaining your play points at the beginning of the turn in order for you to be able to play your cards, so they're all just active cards. And 40 cards is a lot less than some other games have, to where when you pull cards out, they dramatically affect your next draw phases, especially over the course of the game.
Right. So, now, I may be a little bit preemptive by saying this, but this is just a random question. Do you think in the next expansion we're going to see more deck thinning cards?
I hope so. I really like the effect of Dragon Summoner, Baphomet, Maid Leader, all those types of things. They all pretty much do a very similar thing at the moment, and I kind of want to see other things happening. Like Bandersnatch was a new card that came out that can pull 1 card out of your deck, so not really a deck thinning card, more of a combo card. I really want to see that because I think it would make control decks better, even combo decks better, just to be able to get to their their specific cards a lot faster. But I don't know if they want to do that. So I'm kind of 50-50. I want them to do it. I don't know if they will do it.
That's fair. So, again, we're still faced with the same situation that Pancake was in before, where he just isn't near Vengeance at all. And given that his opponent is playing Control, he does have Emeralda to be able to deal with the Bahamut that we see in Sprayquaza's hand, but he's just not in a great position here. He can play Succubus and get some damage out of her if he wants. So that is certainly an option. I think... I mean, I don't know. He can do what? He can play Succubus into... playing Diabolic Drain doesn't really help because it evens the life total. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it might even just be like Razor Claw, Sabrewer Face, just like try to pull in as much damage as you can. Sprayquaza, now, as far as the way the decks play out, Sprayquaza's in a good stance because it's a control deck. He's late game, he's got plenty of health, he's got a Bahamut, he's got some removal spells, but Pancake has a ton of high-value cards in his hand. And actually, with the way these decks are configured, Pancake actually has more card draw in his deck as well. So even though it looks really good for Sprayquaza now because of where the game state's at, Pancake just has so much value in his deck that might just be able to push him over. If this Bahamut's the only thing that Sprayquaza can throw at him, we already know that that can be dealt with. So it's really going to be on Sprayquaza to see if he can find any type of win condition in a relevant time frame here.
Well, he's going to get a lot of value out of this carrot. He's going to get the trade into the Sabrewer and then replay the carrot. So, yeah, that's 2 Sabrewers on board. And yeah,
Hungering Horde not quite able to take out the Sabrewers here. They have 4 toughness, not 3.
Yeah. So, I mean, he can at least take out 1 Sabrewer. With that.
I actually think that's really. I think he should just go to the control game. I think Pancake should just say, you know what, we're both playing Control Blood. Let's just see who can get there faster. The difference is Pancake has a combo kill in the fact that he could save up cards like Dark Generals and Razor Claws to burst out of his hand for a whole lot of damage, whereas Sprayquaza doesn't have that same type of effect in his deck.
That's true, and now he's gonna get... Yeah, I like Sprayquaza not playing Bahamut. I like this a lot. That was what you would call I guess a prime opportunity to play the Bahamut, but he opted not to play the Bahamut and just continues to play the value game.
Well, these Vampiric Kisses are fine, but against Vengeance Blood they're not amazing because most of Vengeance Blood's followers are pretty big, So he'd probably have to use double Vampiric Kiss just to kill one follower. So the Bahamut's really the last resort that he has right now. If he gets rid of that resource, he might as well just say, okay, if you can deal with this Bahamut, then I'm in trouble. So I don't think he wants to put himself into that position.
Not only that, but now that we know what Sprayquaza's deck is, we know that he's not running cards like Dire Bond. He's not running cards like Blood Pact, I don't believe. I saw it in his deck list. No, he's not running Blood Pacts. So we know that he's not running a lot of draw. I think that that's kind of starting to show that he's not running, you know, the fact that he's not running that draw, I think it's starting to show that, you know, his options are kind of, oh, well, never mind.
Never
mind. He draws into a fan. Well, his options, oh, and he got the 4 damage. Wow.
That feels nice.
Wow. Yeah, it
So
feels
he's got
nice,
a second
but
Carrot
again,
active now, so.
But the thing is, even though it feels nice, he did just give Pancake the ability to put himself in vengeance.
He did and he didn't. So he didn't make the play that we saw. The name is escaping me now because I'm thinking about this game. But he didn't put him into vengeance immediately. So basically setting up that big burst turn that I was talking about in the past. Instead of getting him to vengeance and just keep pushing damage, you set up a big turn to where you can kill them and not give them the advantage of being in vengeance. But of course, Razor Claw can do the work for him and get him down to 10 to get some advantage out of his cards. But again, not that much. Now with these 2 carrots going at it with the value game here, I think Sprayquaza has all the value he needs to push this game out with Bahamut as a reset button. So I think he's firmly in control of this game at the moment.
Now, this is exactly what Sprayquaza wanted. Like, this is exactly what he wanted. Because that's -1 Emeralda that he has to worry about when he plays his Bahamut. So, like, and when I'm, oh my god, another Phantom Cat. Wow. Wow. I mean, I could even just see him playing this Phantom Cat. Like,
he could easily just play Phantom Cat, evolve it, and just keep running face. I think with only 2 cards left in Pancake's hand, Sprayquaza is going to take a little bit more leniency on not worrying about the vengeance. But we could just see him still respect it for one more turn. I have no problem with him respecting vengeance. Yeah,
this is one of those knuckle down turns. You're like, okay, do I present... Oh, he's playing the Phantom Cat. Okay. Do I put myself in a position where... And he dealt damage too.
So that's kind of a heads-up play, because Phantom Cat, like, basically see if it puts your opponent in vengeance. If it doesn't, maybe I wait, but if it does, then I'm pushing.
Yeah, and... Yeah, that kind of ended up just ruining my point entirely, because I kept canceling my own point. Anyway, moving on. So... so we got... He can kill the Phantom Cat, and he actually can Diabolic Drain, and he can even... He can still play the Dark General. So that is certainly an option. But
I think he has to, because if he waits, I don't think he's going to have enough turns to actually push the damage from a hand that he needs to. I think if he does this, it allows him the opportunity to maybe Belphegor into a double play next turn. Whereas if he holds the Dark General, he might not be able to unload enough things from his hand to deal lethal damage. So I think this is a must-play Dark General.
He's going to not only have to play that Dark General, but he's going to have to trade, because if he puts him in vengeance, and like he plays the Dark General and goes face, he's putting Sprayquaza in vengeance, and Emeralda will just close the game out.
That's true. Besides,
so he's opting not. Okay. And okay, wow. So he could.
I think this is just an easy turn here.
Yeah, I mean, he could just simply, you know, Sahakoyo, Bahamut, take that out, and then just go face with the others, and then, yeah, that's exactly what he... Or he could even do it with Carrot, if he wanted. That'd be interesting.
He could do it with Carrot.
I think it would have been cooler if he did it with Carrot. Yeah, I think it would have been cooler if he did it with Carrot.
Plus, I think it was actually a better play, because now he's revealed that Bahamut. It's not really going to matter because the game's pretty much over. But revealing the Bahamut gives your opponent information you don't really need to give him.
He did top deck the Belphegor.
Yeah, here's the situation exactly like I'm talking about. Now he can play the Belphegor, but what can he do afterwards, right?
Yeah. The most
I think, honestly, last turn, Pancake had to just take the chance and go face with Dark General and just hope that there wasn't an Emeralda or some way to finish out the game. Because now there's just... nothing to do.
Yep, slam the door. It's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Those are not the cards you...
Showing that you don't need to have as much card draw in your deck. Just Phantom Cat. That's good enough.
Loving it. Loving it.
Very interesting take on Control Blood.
He's doing a lean back, kind of like, oh, yes.
I lost. You're tough.
Yeah, feels good, man.
Alright, so Blood has won for Sprayquaza here, so now we get to see him play his Shadow deck. And Pancake Reaper having to come back with his Blood and Shadow deck yet again. See what it is. See if he chooses to stick with the deck, or if he chooses to switch off a Shadow. I don't know if you want to play Shadow into Shadow, though. Especially because this isn't a regular Shadow v Shadow matchup, because I believe Rainey said that one of these players is packing Nep.
Yes.
Take a look.
That is correct.
So actually, flip that around. Pancake Reaper is bringing Nep, so he might actually bring this against Shadow, because it's a really good matchup. Whereas Vengeance Blood can always be iffy versus Shadow.
Alright, so going into the next game, Sprayquaza did manage to take the last game. So, with Control Blood...
That's right. And it looks like, yeah, Pancake is deciding to bring his Vengeance Blood again. Again, it's not that big of an importance what he does bring, because he still has to win with both. But decides he doesn't want to take a break from the Vengeance Blood. He's got to get his win in.
Well, Vengeance Blood is certainly capable of just, you know, blowing out Shadow with the right draw if it gets Belphegor early enough. Unless Sprayquaza is running Phantom Howl, he doesn't necessarily have to worry about putting himself in Vengeance, at least earlier in the game. So, yeah, this is exactly the type of... this is a fine matchup for him, provided he gets to, you know, play the game the way he wants.
Yeah, this is a lot more even matchup than it used to be in the previous format, because Shadow had access to a lot more basically uninterruptible damage in the form of Shadow Reaper. Phantom Howls were definitely more heavily played back then. But now Vengeance Blood has a lot better cards, period, and Shadow has gone away from the ultra-aggressive style that it used to be. So definitely a lot more even matchup than we've seen in the past, and both players have a pretty good start here with their hands. So see what their decisions are.
I'm going to point out that a lot of the games that we've been watching today, more so than any of the other matches that we've seen in previous Shadowverse Opens, these matches have tended to be a lot longer than, you know, they were before. Like before, we were just seeing straight up blowouts and a lot more aggressive lineups with decks and this and other. And we're not actually seeing that today. We've seen maybe a few, you know, aggro decks, but nothing, just not like a flood like we were seeing earlier.
Well, that we can definitely see that, because a lot of the players chose to bring Control Blood today, expecting that aggressive lineup that we saw in the weeks past, but now all the players adopting a slower playstyle. That's not to say that they're not going to re-adopt a faster playstyle next week, but that's how you stay on top of the metagame. You predict what your opponents are going to do, you play the right decks to counter it. So, changes week to week. You got to be on top.
Yep. So, we will get to see... Oh, okay, he drew that Lyriel. So, Lyriel could be quite good here. Yeah, for sure.
Especially with the Demon Eater to make the 4/4 out of the Attend and actually make it a useful card here. So, very good line after drawing that Lyriel. Catches him right back up.
Yeah, he may have been in a little bit of trouble without that Lyriel, but Lyriel just saves the day yet again, man.
That's her job. She's a superhero. If any person in this game, if any follower in this game, any waifu in this game deserves a superhero cape, it's definitely Lyriel.
For sure. 100%. Now he's playing the Air Jammer despite not being in Vengeance. He wants to get some kind of value out of it. Again, remember, he does get the Thinna card. And again, Spiderweb Imp is not a card you really want to be drawing later in the game, especially not against Shadow. So, I think it's completely fine.
Yeah, it's really good in these earlier turns because it forces you to basically jump through hoops in order to kill their bigger followers. Definitely want to see them earlier.
And he's just drawing his curve cards on point, man.
He's got a good serve turn here. He's got O-Dials. O-Dials not extremely effective against Vengeance Blood because A, they could put your opponent in Vengeance. B, they don't really kill a lot of the big followers, but they do extra damage in the fact that Sprayquaza doesn't really have any of the Ektars, no Thanes, nothing like that, no Phantom Howl. So these O-Dials might actually come into play to deal a lot of the important damage that he needs to get done in order to win this game. But that's to say, we see Emeralda and Dark General already sitting in the hand for Pancake, so this is going to be a tough game for Sprayquaza if he doesn't draw something effective to deal with this board.
Time to go a little while.
Well, I mean, at the very least, he can Evo to serve, trade the well, yeah, this still kind of sucks. He's going to end up losing either the serve or the literal. I guess it depends on how he trades. Moreover, he'll probably keep the serve, so trade the serve into the ward and then use the Lirio to trade into the Dark Air Jammer. For some reason, I bricked on the card's name.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
So the other play he could make if he's feeling like his opponent doesn't have it, could kill the Big Knuckle Bodyguard and say, you know what? If you got it, you got it. If you don't, I win. And this is the turn to do it because he's only on 6 play points. This is before Emeralda can come down. This is where an Air Jammer plus something like a Razory Claw could finish out the game, but Pancake doesn't have that. So very good play by Sprayquaza, basically taking a good gamble as opposed to a bad one. So I like this.
This is also just based on the hands right now that we see. It's going to be, he's going to have to either, really gut check, or rather Pancake's going to have to gut check whether or not he wants to even attempt to go for the damage. If he wants to use, he's going to have to Evo, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to have to Evo something to take something out. The question is he going to play, he can play, let's say for instance, he can play both Disagreeable Demons, right? He'll get 2 wards, and then he could opt to Evo the Disagreeable Demon, take something out, and then go face with the Air Jammer.
I'm not doing this for you.
I think the best play for him here is both Disagreeable Demons, go face, no Evo. And that way you ensure that you have lethal next turn.
Check this out.
Okay, decides to go against that plan. Wants to be a little bit more defensive. Can't hate on him for that.
You're mean.
Yep.
This does not guarantee lethal, though.
No, it doesn't guarantee lethal, but I do like the line of play. Again, he's telling Sprayquaza, look, man, you need to have something, you know? You need to have something to be able to deal with this. Now, we knew that was going to happen. If he had done any type of trading in the previous turn, he would have just lost out on a boatload of damage. And that's not what you really want to be doing when you're fighting against Shadow. You want to try to get in as much damage as you can.
Right, before they can start playing their Ektars and start maintaining board control.
Yep.
Now, what this does say, though, is that, again, we know that Shadow doesn't really have any life gain in it. So unless Sprayquaza can figure out a way to win in basically this turn and next turn, the double force of Emeralda and Dark General can just finish out the game. And maybe just make all of the attacks that Sprayquaza has ineffectual until he can present lethal in one turn, because it's still that looming presence of Vengeance. Can I put my opponent in Vengeance and feel safe about it?
Well, he's sitting at 5, and we know that most of the burst damage for Vengeance Blood is at like 4 damage. Like, because all the cards that they have Storm with is all 4 damage. Alucard, Soul Dominator. And he put him in Vengeance. Wow.
Interesting. So this actually now... oh, well, that's
he's just dead.
Okay.
That's lethal. Yeah. He actually just gave him lethal by going face. This is one of the scariest things when you are playing against Vengeance Blood. Do I put him in Vengeance? Do I not put him in Vengeance?
Right.
You put him in Vengeance, you're dead.
I really feel like both players were on top of their gamble turns. Like, so Sprayquaza basically gambled on a turn. It paid off. Pancake's response was a little bit defensive instead of offensive, saying, I'm not going to be able to beat you next turn if you clear my board, but I'm going to play a little defensive so I can't die here. And then Sprayquaza gambled yet again, and then lost that time. So I think they were very heads-up plays. I don't think that those gambles were necessarily bad, because you have to find a way to beat Blood. You're at 5. It's a very scary life total. So I think all of the plays there were very, very well thought out. I think they both executed their game plan the way they wanted to.
Well, I don't think that they played badly at all. It was just, you know, as you said, and as you play the game, you will have to take gambles. There's a lot of dice rolling, a lot of coin flipping, a lot of that. You're just going to have to do that.
Vengeance Blood, you'll actually have to take gambles against a lot because it's just a deck that requires you to do so. It has a lot of bursts. You have to be careful, and you have to win the game before they can kill you. So it's really hard to play against in a lot of spots. So I like to see it pick up a win there.
Come on, let's play together.
Now we got Nef Shadow versus Mid Shadow. Now we know from our own experiences that Nef Shadow has a bit of a slight edge in the matchup. I wouldn't say it's a complete shutout. I'd say just a slight edge. You know, as Shadow has no way of being able to deal with Mordecai, Kawi is very strong against the deck, against Mid Shadow. So
Let's get into trouble.
it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yep. And as we can see, Sprayquaza's hand is not shaping up to be an early aggressive draw that he'd really want to see in this matchup. He's got those 2 Ektars sitting in hand that aren't really going to do anything, and he doesn't have any more aggressive plays after this turn. So, had a good 1-2 start, but now I think he's going to falter a little bit unless he can top deck like a king. Ooh. There's one.
That was a good draw. That was a good draw.
Take it.
That was a good draw. He's probably like, yes!
Okay, so seeing the Attendant of Night in Pancake's hand, this lends me to believe that he's also playing Death's Ledger. So he built this deck to beat other control decks, not necessarily other aggro decks, meaning it might be a little bit worse against Mid Shadow, but again, depending on what Sprayquaza draws over the next couple of turns, this could either be really hard for Pancake or really, really easy.
Well, he's actually not running any Death Ledgers in his list. His list is packed. No, he's running Voices of Resentment. Pretty sweet. He's running Execution. So this man came prepared for, you know, he didn't want to lose to any Dragon Polyphonic Roars, man. He's like, look, I'm ready. I got my Execution. But yeah, he's got Kaiza in here. So
and then the Attendant's a little weird for me, and the reason I say that is because Attendant's not really a defensive card. So without something like Ledger to make it like a more forceful presence, it can lend itself to being a dead card in your hand. Obviously, he's got a nice little soul conversion play here this turn to get some value out of it, so forget what I'm saying, but definitely interesting to see Attendant of Night in this list without a Ledger.
Alright,
Death's Ledger being a card, for those of you who don't know, so I'm just not talking about stuff you guys aren't understanding. Death's Ledger is an amulet that you can play at the end of your turn. It pulls a follower that in your deck with less play points than what you have available right now. So on 4, it would pull out an Attendant of Night if you built your deck properly, and then it would pop out the 4/4, and then it would stay around next turn to do the same thing to get advantage out of those Attendants. So, yeah, just interesting to not see him play that alongside the Attendant is all.
Well, what's also interesting, and something that people may want to know, is that when you're playing Death Ledger in general, and this is just a passing comment, whenever you're playing Death Ledger, you definitely have to build your deck around the concept of playing Death Ledger. You can't just throw it into a Shadow deck. You have to build your deck around it.
Right.
Alright, so we're coming up on 5. And let's see, this hand. So he could remove the board if he wanted. He could use his Voices of Resentment now to you know, at least activate his Foul Tempest or Zombie Party. He could do that too. If he
I think the only consideration for Pancake this turn is making sure that he has the 6 shadows available for Death's Breath next turn, because that'll be his most impactful play, and he doesn't want to use anything that can remove those shadows. So he's going to clear the board and have those shadows left over for next turn for the Death's Breath. So very good play.
Alright. I don't know, like for me it's like, if I'm playing Nef, I'm not, I don't know, Death's Breath on 6 to me isn't always right. I mean, it could be right now, I'm just saying, like, there are times...
It's not always right. In this game, very specifically, Death's Breath is the only play he has that can really affect the board in a good way. Like, Foul Tempesting before a Death's Breath or an Ektar turn doesn't really feel good. Even cards like Execution. I know because I've played Execution as a tech card in my decks before. Execution is not a card you can really get a lot of value out against Mid-Shadow. Like, it might be able to kill an Ektar, but you're spending 5 play points to do that. How are you dealing with the rest of the board that turn, kind of thing. So, yeah, Death's Breath really is the only option here. And next turn, he's just going to have to hope that something big doesn't happen, but he does have the Foul Tempest to fall back on, so not in a terrible spot in any case.
Well, heads can't be taken. And Ektar comes... It's Ektar time. Yeah. It's just Ektar time. Just that time of day where your opponent plays an Ektar.
And you guys should be more than familiar with Ektar by now. You've seen plenty of it. You'll see plenty more of it in the future, I'm sure. So that card's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're coming up on 7 play points. 1 turn away from being able to play his Nefties. So this turn is just going to be about survival. Play cards that allow you to survive.
Yep. I think the most he can do this turn is he can Execution the Ektar, like I said. Not a very imposing board left over, and he can choose the Demon Eater afterwards and evolve. Okay, this is also a really good play. Clean out the entire board, draw some cards. And does definitely set him up for a Nep this turn next turn, so definitely a good line there.
This is where the game will begin to shift into a different direction. We've seen Pancake be on kind of like the losing side of, or rather, I guess the losing side is the right kind of side to say. So he's been on kind of like on the lower end. I'm
getting my face bashed in. I'm at low health. You're at 20, but Nep this time.
Now he's getting to a point where his deck is designed to work. He survived to this point, and now that he's here, he'll be able to start taking control of the game.
Now, I really hope Sprayquaza doesn't make this mistake of evolving into... Okay, good. Because that would basically just say, I'm going to give you more health for your Nephthys, and things like that. So this will be a turn where we see Demon Eater get run into probably the Serb, just to not pop the 1/1s. And then into Nephthys to gain him 3 health, put a Mord in play, and start taking over this game.
Yeah, Shadow has 0 ways of being able to deal with Mord. So, Mordecai, he's always there. He's not going anywhere.
Yep. And Mordecai, for those of you who don't know, is just a big, fat 5/5 follower that when he dies, he comes right back into play. So, unless you can banish him, which Shadow does not have access to, he will stay in play and do a ton of work.
Pancake is given a lot of consideration. That doesn't mean, however, that Sprayquaza is out of the game. Like, he can find a way. He is still at 20, so it will take a little bit for Pancake to come up with a way to just shut him out.
Let's do this right.
Okay. So...
Alright, and we see the play being made. We see Ektar trying to take back over the board. And let's see if he can play through this Mord.
Well, I think that's what he's going to have to do.
Yeah, he's honestly only like a Phantom Howl away from really being able to actually close this game out, because the last defensive option that Pancake has in his hand reliably right now is that Callway to gain him some extra life this last turn, but other than that, he's kind of out of things to do. Like, he could play the Nephthys, but Nephthys isn't guaranteed anymore because it doesn't have the available 4 spaces for everything to work properly. So we'll see how these next couple turns play out. These are the important ones.
Well, I don't believe Sprayquaza is playing Phantom Howl. So, yeah, I don't believe he's playing Phantom Howl.
And as you guys can hear, we talk about Phantom Howl a lot. This really, I am a proponent of Phantom Howl. I think you should be playing it in every Shadow deck. That's a mid-Shadow list, not necessarily Nep. You don't need it in Nep. But in a mid-Shadow list, because it just gives you so many options that no other card in the game can give you. And not having access to it basically just means that players have a lot more room to breathe against you. Even just the effect of having one Phantom Howl in your deck might make your opponent play around it, which is a lot of times good enough to, you know, just give that nice little fake out.
Now, Pancake is at 4, and he is going to have to do something about this.
They're so fresh.
Okay. So he plays a Kawi. Kawi may be enough to help stave this off. I mean, we can see from Sprayquaza's hand, he does have ways of removing it. I guess it depends on how he plays out his turn or how much health Pancake will actually gain off of the Kawi.
Yep. Now, with that Ektar being left in play, there's not really going to be a way for Sprayquaza not to gain some health off of that. I mean, Pancake to gain some health off of that. There's no way to clear that board out. Well, actually, now there is an option. With that Soul Conversion, he can actually get rid of the Ektar without allowing Pancake to gain any health. So let's see if he goes that route. That would be a really heads-up play. I haven't really seen players do this kind of a play, but I think in this situation it's perfect. You Soul Conversion the Ektar, you use your Mimi and Coco's in order to finish off that Ektar without any life gain happening, and then you can push for some more damage after that with your opponent remaining at 4. So let's see what route he decides to go, though.
Well, if he does that, his opponent, he can do how much damage? He wouldn't be able to kill him, so that wouldn't happen. But definitely at the very least, he would not be able to kill him.
Actually, save the Mimi. Soul Conversion into Zombie Party the Ektar, but then again, you'd have to get below 7 play points to not spit out the 2/2s. So there would be some life. There would have to be some life gain. So maybe you play the Attendant of Night plus the Soul Conversion, then use the other Zombie Party. Okay, so it looks like he's doing a completely different line. Okay. He's just opting to give him the life, and he's just gonna go deal with this board. Yep.
Nothing wrong with it. I mean,
yeah, nothing wrong with this.
Nothing wrong with it. And so he can Nev again to try and get another Kawi, and then he does have access to an Undying Resentment, so he will actually have access to being able to clear out 3 zombies this turn. If he wants to go that way. He could also use his Execution. Actually, he could use all of the removal spells to do the same thing. But if he doesn't actually pull a Kawi off of the net, he's just kind of saying, I'm dead. If he decides to play that.
Yep, and this is kind of the spot that you were talking about, where using the Death's Breath on 6 felt really good, but if he had it now, it could help him win the game. And at this point, he doesn't really have a good defensive option to, like, just keep clearing boards. Like, he has the Mord that can keep swinging, but if he does that, he's just opening the door for an Ektar or just consistent damage to keep coming through. So he's kind of in a tough spot here. He has the big removal for this turn, but after this, he's going to have to get lucky with a Nephthys or top deck something like a Foul Tempest to even have a chance here.
Well, this one of the things I've gotten in the habit of when I'm playing Nep is to just hold my Death's Breath as long as I can. I'm going to use everything else to control the board, and then once I got my Mordecai out, once I have those, I am 100% dead set on holding my Death's Breath until then, so that when I actually am playing it, it is way more impactful. It feels like, okay, now you can't do damage to me. I got my Mordecai in play. You can't deal with all my wards.
Right. Agreed. So now he's really looking to get another Death's Breath if he can. Perfect.
And he drew one. And he drew one.
Definitely needed that.
Yeah. The gods was on his side. It was a here you go, brother. Here's another Death's Breath. Please play the Death's Breath.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you have another option. Like we said, he could take a gamble with Nephthys, but even taking a gamble and pulling a Kawi out of it is only 2 life gain. It's not very much.
Right.
So I feel like he's just going to play another defensive turn here. He's probably going to use the Pact along with attacking Mordecai into some 2/2s here.
So, for those who don't know, Death's Breath just summons 3 zombies. And when you have 6 shadows, use Necromancy 6 to give those zombies ward and +0/+1. So, this is one of the... Death's Breath is one of the biggest value cards that Shadow has access to.
It's one of the biggest value cards that any of the classes have access to.
Well, anyone has access, right.
Yeah, it's very good because it can be offensive, it can be defensive, it just sets up a nice board, and sets up a bunch of wards, which this game, in very specific turns, wards can literally play a role in you winning or losing the game on the spot. So, very, very, very good effect on that card.
Man, this kind of is just going back to what I was saying earlier about, oh my goodness, man.
Yeah, this is just looking like Sprayquaza's mid shadow is just super outvaluing Pancake's control shadow list. Like, Pancake just doesn't have a lot of options, hasn't gotten a lot of card draw, doesn't have the removal he needs, whereas Sprayquaza's sitting over here with 2 Death's Breaths, 2 Soul Conversions. He still has, you know, his Mimi in his hand. He's got so many things that he can be doing right now.
Yep. This is just... If I was Pancake, man, I would be like, come on, bro.
To be fair, though, this game could turn right around on its head with a top deck Foul Tempest. The top deck Foul Tempest could literally push this game into a new direction. But that is not what we're seeing.
I don't actually think that he's... Oh, he is running 2 Foul Tempests, and we've only seen 1, so he could definitely do that.
Foul Tempest being a way to clear off all of those wards for possibly some damage to go to face, but as it stands, Pancake's just sitting here playing the I hope you can't kill me every turn game while his resources are dwindling.
Man, he needs something, because he's sitting right now just... I mean, I saw him put his hand on his head, just kind of...
I think, honestly, his only good play here is to play Nephthys and hope that that one card that gets pulled out is a Kawi. Because other than that, he's just not looking good. There's not really a lot of options for him. He could just execute the 4/4, that's not a bad play. But I feel like he should really try to get lucky here. He's got 2 Nephthys, and maybe even putting another Mord in play. You know what I mean? Just to give him a little bit more oomph. Because if he keeps waiting on those things, he's just going to keep getting outvalued.
Right.
Destiny calls.
Well, he did get rid of a ward, or certainly did that. And wait, that's lethal. Yeah, wow.
Double Erd, replacing the ward mechanic on the zombies because they don't naturally have ward. What a sweet play.
Wow. That was excellent. Good job, Sprayquaza.
Sprayquaza with the win there. So Erd as a card says when it comes into play, its fanfare effect is that it destroys a follower, then returns that follower. And because the zombies...